Hello, I'm Joyce Woodworth. Welcome to the Spirit of Winona. Winona is a generous town and always has been. Some of our most cherished sites and buildings were given to the city by our more wealthy and generous forefathers. Today we're going to learn about the philanthropists of our past and their generous legacies. We'll also take a look at some of the more current philanthropists and find out how each and every one of us can leave a legacy to make a positive difference in this fine community we live in. Winona's citizens have been giving to Winona since its onset. Small, unnoticed gifts of money in the collection plate to help support a church, to large buildings that provide a better life for every member of the community. Whether the gift be large enough to build a library or just large enough to buy one of the books for the library, each contribution is important to our community, and each gift leaves Winona a little bit better off than it was before. Mark Peterson, the director of the Historical Society, tells us about some of these gifts. Hi, Mark. Welcome to the Spirit of Winona.
Oh, Joyce. Thank you.
Mark, give me some of the background of some of the major founders in Winona and some of their contributions to the city.
Well, Winona certainly has a long history and tradition of people giving back to the community, and I think without a doubt the granddaddy of the biggest name I think historically that we've ever seen here in Winona is John Latch. John Latch, without a doubt, was an extremely generous person. In his lifetime, he bought and donated thousands of acres of land up and down the Mississippi River. Today, Perot State Park, John Latch State Park, those are just a small part of the legacy that he's left. He gave considerable money to Woodlawn Cemetery, the Latch Beach bathhouse. That was his gift to the city because he wanted the people to have some place to go and enjoy the river, and as he did himself. He was very generous, and when he died in the 1930s, he continued that legacy through a foundation that he established, and today that foundation still supports a lot of the charitable work that he was most interested in. This guy had, an estate back in 1935, right in the midst of the Deep Depression, of close to $1 million. His personal property, he had about $50 worth of clothing and about $100 worth of other, miscellaneous. So he lived very frugally, but he saved his money, and he left a legacy that will just go on, and we're all every day reaping the benefits of really his foresight and his generous spirit. In addition to John Latch, we had quite a number of other names that come to mind too. Paul Watkins is another example. Today, one of the legacies of Paul Watkins isn't just his beautiful manor house that we all appreciate, and that house itself was left to the Methodist Church after his wife died, but Central School stands out, and it was because of Paul Watkins' generosity and his gift of a lot of the special architectural elements and some of the artwork that he donated there. He also donated a considerable art collection to Winona State University. But another name that comes to mind is William Harris Laird. That name is familiar, I think, through the Laird Norton Lumber Company that operated here in Winona as the major employer in the 19th century. And William Harris Laird's name still exists today on the front, above the front entrance of our public library. That library was a gift to the city of Winona. Another lumber baron name that comes to mind is Frederick Bell. Frederick Bell's legacy to Winona, his gift to the city in the early 1920s was our band shell, which so many of us appreciate on Wednesday nights throughout the summer. He gave that to the city. Another name that comes to mind is William Landon. The Landon Fountain, the Princess Winona Fountain in Wyndham Park. That was a gift to the city of Winona in 1900 to be placed in perpetuity in Central Park. It took about 60 years to forget what the definition of perpetuity was, but the fountain and the statue were eventually reunited beautifully in Wyndham Park. And so that's just another gift. That was a gift in memory of his wife. H.C. or Herbert Garvin, Garvin Heights, Garvin Park out in the Arches area of the county were gifts to the people of Winona County by Herbert Garvin, who was the manager of Bay State Milling Company.
What about the Grace Watkins King contribution?
Her generosity I'm mostly familiar with because of her association with the Historical Society. We have a wonderful collection here at the Society, and really the basis of that collection all came from Grace Watkins King. Almost our entire Native American collection, gifts of her carriages, and just a lot of artifacts that she was a first-class collector, and she was also very active and I think appreciated what the Historical Society does and looked to us as a home for a lot of these things. So I would include her on the list because of what she did in helping the Historical Society get going, and her donations to the collection.
Well, Mark, let's go into the more current philanthropists now, starting after the Kings and like into the 30s and 40s and 50s. What about some of those philanthropists?
Jack and Pat Lucas, for example. Jack, I know, and his wife have done a lot for the Historical Society over the years. I know that they've been involved and their family going back at least a couple of generations, I think, have been big benefactors to Carleton College and other colleges. Dare White, I know, did do a lot of giving in the community, but also outside the community. Dr. Younger, who passed away, was very active with the Historical Society, left money to Winona State and the Wilkie, and Betty King. There's another big name. Betty, while she was alive, just did all kinds of things for the city of Winona, giving money to the YMCA and the youth hockey, built the ice hockey arena, and had the foresight, I think, before she died, to establish the Elizabeth Callender King Foundation. Joe Page, when Joe Page died, he left, I believe, over $1 million to St. Mary's University and building the theater out there. Floretta Murray, who recently died, left money in her estate to Winona State and also to the Historical Society.
These names are really just the tip of a mountain of benefactors in Winona. Each non-profitable organization could rattle off their list of generous contributors. Does a gift always have to be large to be considered important? Mark tells us a story about the significance of the smallest gift.
When we had our capital campaign and we were trying to raise $650,000, we went after a lot of people trying to get big gifts, and we were very successful. But to meet our goal, there were a lot of other gifts that came in. And one day, a young girl about 11 years old walked in, knew that we were having this campaign, and she left $3. It was like that $3 to her really said a lot. And I think about her generosity and how much it was appreciated. So.
Generosity from the heart is what it's all about. Fortunately for us, there are many Winonans today that have much and are willing to share.
Today we still have Ben Miller, who's done an unbelievable amount for the city of Winona and giving to Winona State and to engineering school, and the hospital has just been a big beneficiary of his. We've got the Fastenal founders, Steve Sloggy and Bob Kierlin and Mike Kostomsky, and the Hiawatha Foundation that they established, and all that they've done in buying the former campus of the College of St. Teresa, and what they've done for Catholic education here in Winona.
The Hiawatha Foundation did not just stop with Catholic education with its philanthropical giving, but with public education as well. In establishing Hiawatha Broadband Communications, or HBC Incorporated, they generously gave 52% of the ownership to all of education in Winona, meaning that over 1/2 of the profits made by HBC will go to Winona Public Schools, as well as the Catholic schools, St. Mary's and Winona State University included.
Another name that comes to mind, all the beautification work that's being done on the campus around Winona State, and a lot of the nice artwork in the new library. Herb Bublitz, the professor from Winona State, has done a lot of that. Somebody that might not come to the lips of a lot of people in talking about charitable giving in Winona today, but Al Smith, sort of Mr. Baseball. This guy for the last 25 years has been supporting the Winona Chiefs, not only through his time, but I know through a lot of his own expenses and keeping that going. Winona has a good spirit, and I think that some of the people we've been talking about really exemplify that spirit that we have here of giving.
And that's a great example, because really anyone can leave a legacy, not just the wealthy or not just the well-known, but anyone. Like, I'm thinking of Joe Page, for instance. Now, he was a very nondescript person that really no one knew he had a lot of money. Tell me a little bit about his background.
Well, Joe Page worked for Winona County. My understanding is that when he first started working for the county back in the 1920s, he wasn't paid a salary. He was given a dollar or two of every transaction that he did. He was a very shrewd investor, and he lived very modestly, and he amassed a lot of money, and he gave some of it away while he was alive, but when he died is when he left the bulk of his estate. And I think he's a good example of how you can, live within your means and save money and do something later through a legacy.
Leaving a legacy or a bequest in one's will may be an important matter to each and every one of us. In an effort to promote charitable gift-giving, Mayor Jerry Miller proclaimed September 20th, 2001, Leave a Legacy Day.
And whereas giving through bequest offers everyone an opportunity to foster and perpetuate values and ideals we hold important, and is a tangible way to leave a legacy, be remembered, and ensure that we leave the world a better place. Whereas Leave a Legacy Winona area is a collaborative effort to encourage charitable estate gifts which will enable our local nonprofit organizations, large and small, to continue serving local citizens and improve the quality of life that makes our area an appealing place to live, work, and raise families. I, Jerry Miller, Mayor of the City of Winona, do hereby proclaim today, September 20, 2001, as Leave a Legacy Winona Area Day in the City of Winona.
This is Jim Hansel, who is the director of the Leave a Legacy program in Winona. Is that correct, Jim?
Well, I'm one of those working on it. There's no director. There's just a team effort.
Okay, tell me what Leave a Legacy program is.
It's a national program and to some extent international because it operates in some of the Canadian provinces. It started in Columbus, Ohio about 6 years ago. It was picked up here in Minnesota, and right now I think Minnesota is probably the leading state in promoting it. It's an attempt to educate all Americans in somewhat the way we've tried to educate them about the dangers of smoking. It's hard to change behavior. Behavior among Americans is that it's just not in our traditions to write charities into our wills. Only 7% of Americans do it, even though 80% give maybe every week or every month or at least every year to their favorite charities. Legacies are the lifeblood of the future for most organizations. And this all goes without saying that every adult American should have a will, something that's up to date and something that is legal, and they should be seeking professional advice in making those plans. Just the intention of doing it just will not work. It's got to be in writing. It's got to be in a legal document.
Well, how much money does a person have to leave a legacy, or how much assets does a person have to have?
My guess is it could be minuscule. We all hear about the huge legacies that are left, the $1 million legacies or the $10 million legacy, but most Americans don't have that. But the program is aimed at all Americans. It would be a shame if people said, well, this is for the big hitters, it's not for me and you. Mm-hmm. But it is, it's for everybody.
What are the tax benefits to leaving a legacy?
If an estate is liable to estate taxes, the rate quickly gets up to 55%. Now that's on large estates. And generally, people who have estates that are liable to estate taxes, generally, they are aware of that and have already sought some kind of professional advice on it. I'm sure there are folks who have lived very conservative lives, have lived through the Depression, have not spent their assets, and who may, in fact, have estates far larger than they realize. Estates like that can be hit by estate taxes.
So in other words, it would really benefit someone to give to the charity of their choice rather than to taxes.
And, well, unless you prefer sending it to Washington. Because your heirs you have three choices for heirs. Your children, friends, and relatives, your favorite charities, or Uncle Sam.
One way to avoid Uncle Sam is to leave your money to a charitable organization. If it's a significant amount, you may want to set up your own foundation. A very easy way to do this is to set up a donor-advised fund with Winona Community Foundation. Since being established in 1986, they have given $5 million to Winona's nonprofit organizations. Establishing a fund with them allows one to choose which charity your money will go to while you're alive, and they will see to it that your gift keeps on giving after you die. Who do you suggest people leave a legacy to?
Their favorite charity. And I guess if you look at annual national statistics, churches rank first, educational institutions come in second, and I'm not sure where the others fall in, but those two lead the pack. And everybody, I'm sure, has at least some favorite charity. And we've got a wealth of them to choose from here in Winona.
Wherever you turn in Winona, there is a nonprofit organization that thrives on the goodness of its contributors. Whether it be the skateboard park for the active youth or the majestic Polish church for the spiritual souls, Winona does have wonderful, wholesome organizations that deserve our support. Several of these nonprofits shared their needs with us on the Leave a Legacy Day.
My name is Libby Ashley.
And what charity do you represent?
I'm with Habitat for Humanity.
What does your charity do for the community?
Well, basically, our goal is to provide housing for those who either don't have a place to live currently or are living someplace that's substandard, whether it's overcrowded or lack of indoor plumbing or any of the various conditions that could make it considered substandard housing. The way we work is by charging no interest and no profit to the homeowners who move into Habitat homes. They help build the homes, put in sweat equity hours, but basically, in order to be able to continue building homes, we need donations from the community.
My name is Dorothy Rupert.
Dorothy, what organization do you represent today?
Winona County American Red Cross.
And what does the Red Cross do for Winona community?
The Red Cross provides disaster services for people who have experienced a small disaster, a fire, a flood, etc. We provide armed forces emergency services for families of people who have sons or daughters in the armed forces, and we provide communication services for them. We're also involved in the blood collection system and several other things in the community, but mainly those are the ones.
Hi, I'm Beth Forkner-Moe, and I'm with United Way of the Greater Winona area.
Okay, and what does your organization do for Winona?
Our mission is to increase the organized capacity of people to care for one another. And what that means is that the biggest thing we do, the most visible thing, is that during this time of year, we run a fundraising campaign from the community and then distribute that money to other nonprofits in the community to help them run and to help them help people.
Good morning. My name is Phil Fighton.
And what organization do you represent, Phil?
Well, Joyce, I wear several hats. Today I'm here with the Catholic Schools Foundation, but I also am active in Habitat for Humanity and also sit on the board of St. Anne's Hospice Foundation.
Excellent. Tell me about the Catholic Schools Foundation. What does that do for Winona?
The Catholic Schools Foundation was started in 1986, and we've had a couple of major fund drives, and all of the income that we have from our endowment goes to support the programs and operations of Catholic schools in Winona from preschool through high school.
Hi, what's your name?
I'm Jolene Olson.
Jolene, what organization are you representing today?
I represent the Public School Foundation.
What does that organization do for the community?
The Public School Foundation provides money that is then used within the public school system to provide the students with things that they couldn't have because of budget cuts and because of tight money. Innovative things.
What about, I know they have the Dare to Dream. Tell me about that.
That's an opportunity for any faculty or staff member to who has an idea of something that would be really neat to do but just doesn't have the funding for it. Public School Foundation provides up to $5,000 that they can then dare to dream their dream and have something unusual. Ridgeway and the Dakota project last year for the ecology, I don't remember the exact title of it, was the winner of the program last year. And that was a wonderful program.
And tell me, if someone were to leave you a sum of money, even a small amount, what would you do with that money?
The money that in the legacy programs is to go to build endowment, and then the interest from that endowment then is what we use to spend on a weekly and monthly basis for the children in Winona.
Okay, what is your name?
Frank Mizio from St. Anne Hospice.
Hi, Frank. Tell me what your organization is all about.
Well, we serve the elderly in the community from a faith basis, and we serve a lot of needs. We have our nursing home, which is the hospice, with multiple types of care that we give. Plus, we have Callista Court, which is our assisted living, as well as independent living, and then we have a day center for elders.
And if someone would leave a legacy to your organization, what would you do with that money?
Multiple things. We have multiple needs there. First of all, one of the needs, we've established what is called a charity fund. There are some people that come to our facilities, particularly our assisted living, that may not be able to continue to support themselves, and they're less fortunate than some of us. Also, our day center, we have some of those clients there that we use our charity fund, the earnings of our charity fund off of that. Through Leave a Legacy, we were able to institute this charity fund, and we will use those funds, the earnings off of that, for those people that are less fortunate.
Winona is filled with giving opportunities with all of its nonprofit organizations, all of which seem to be thriving. I think this says a lot about the generosity of the citizens of Winona, because it is through their support that these organizations stay healthy and endure. Even a modest gift can make a significant difference. It is up to us to keep Winona the strong, healthy community it is today. This has been Joyce Woodworth. Please join me again next week. Till then, enjoy the Spirit of Winona.